Hey, welcome in everybody to the Auburn Live Recruiting Show. I am glad to be joined by someone else, and that someone else is Alan Head, who I love being joined by. How you doing, Alan?
I'm doing good, Cole. Glad to be with you tonight. Now, yes, we are -1 Jeffrey Lee, but I promise you that hopefully everybody will still be happy with the product tonight. We won't probably be as humorous, but you can bank on the fact that the intel will be thick.
We're getting better, Alan. I think we're getting better.
Yeah.
We have formed this duo and making it happen. You know what I mean? But yes, I am filling in for Jeffrey tonight. Cole Pinkston, Auburn Live recruiting and football analyst. Some call me Cole Four Eyes Pinkston. I've been called that a few times. So have at it. Have at it. Before we get into questions tonight, we are going to give a word or two to our sponsors. We got two of them tonight, starting with GameTime.co or the GameTime app if you are not a dinosaur and you like apps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code ON3, $20 off of your first purchase. You can also go to GameTime.co, as I said. You're taken care of with the GameTime guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section or row or whatever for less, GameTime will credit you 110%. Right? That's pretty good. Hearing from both of our sponsors tonight. First off, with GameTime, GameTime.co. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. You can also go to GameTime.co if you're a dinosaur and you don't like apps. You're taken care of with the Game Time guarantee. If you find tickets, same section, same row, whatever, Game Time will credit you 100%, 10% of the difference. Some things that you can guarantee: lowest price, on-time ticket delivery if you still do it that way, job loss assurance, 24-hour return guarantee, event cancellation protection. Again, create an account, redeem code ON3 for $20 off. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Alan Head?
Game time. Whoop.
That's right. And look, if you're going to the game, the Auburn Louisiana Monroe game, row back. You got to get your row back, man. The row back activewear. That's what I'm wearing right now. There's only one way to describe row back. Actually, there's two: best fit, best feel. You know Jeffrey's spill on that. For those who aren't familiar, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable active wear. I'm wearing one right now. Man, this is the great. I sweat a lot. You would never know it in this shirt. It's my favorite. They just released their new licensed game day collection, and it's awesome. The polo right here. You got the clean hoodie that you've seen Jeffrey wear with the white zipper with the nice touch of class there, and the quarter zip designs with your favorite schools, Auburn. These are the little Aubies. They also have little Jordan hairs. I think they got the trees with toilet paper. They got all that, man. They really know how to do it. They also have shorts that pair perfect with this kind of stuff. The everyday short, perfect for pairing. They are comfortable, and they have an elastic waistband with a great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice short, but have the comfort of an athletic short. So, use the code Auburn Live on Roback.com for a generous 20% off all new customers through the end of this week. That is RHOBACK.com. 20% off everything I just named. So use that code, check out Roback, get your game day attire, get your tickets on Game Time. Alan, we got some things to talk about.
Yes, sir.
So we're up against signing day coming up here. We're up against the portal. There's a lot going on, man. It's coming up pretty fast. I checked today and I was like, oh, it's time to start getting into that again. Like, wow, we're here. How are you feeling? How are you feeling about it going into this?
Love it. This is spatula season right now, right? Like you've had graphic season and then decommitment season, and now we're in the middle of spatula/recommitment season. So this is, like you talked about, this is one of my favorite times of the year because this is when the action gets going. And then once the transfer portal opens up, I believe it's on December the 6th, maybe it's the 8th. It'll be wide open for another 20 plus days. And it's just going to be coming fast and furious, my man. And I think Auburn's in a decent position to capitalize. Now, we'll probably answer some questions tonight about, maybe not as great a recruiting news as one would have hoped, the Dante Core flip and a handful of others, but I'm looking forward to seeing what's in the questions tonight.
I do have a question for you, Alan, before we get into Logan Adams' question there. So I wrote an article, Gut Feelings. One of my gut feelings that I've got right now is that Auburn is going to handle this portal cycle really nicely. I just feel like they're going to do well with it. But what is your gut feeling on how Auburn's going to handle this portal cycle coming up?
I think they're very organized right now. By comparison, and this isn't me taking a shot at last year's staff, but I just felt like they put so much concentration into high school recruiting. And then as it got to the portal, they probably weren't as streamlined as they needed to be to make sure that they could take advantage, because as we know, portal recruiting is fast. It's how quickly can you get in contact with someone, how quickly can you get them on campus, and then what's your sales pitch.
Yeah.
And we struggled, or Auburn struggled slightly, or not slightly. They did struggle at the beginning, but in the spring portal when they did it significantly better. And my anticipation is that the product that you saw in the spring recorded recruiting portal from 2024 is going to be mirrored right here in this winter session.
I like it. Yeah, it's just a couple things. I felt like that. I feel like there are more flips coming from Auburn. I'm sure we'll discuss that. Maybe flips the wrong way. I mean, you have to account for that, right? It's just part of this season that we're about to go in.
Law of averages, baby.
A law of averages. That's right. All right, Zach, pop up that question again, and we'll get into these questions. Question number one, Logan W. Adams. What percentage chance do you have on Deuce Knight flipping to Ole Miss as things currently stand? Alan.
Let's go 35%, but watching it. I mean, I've got an eye on them for sure. I don't think you can discount Ole Miss in this recruitment by any means. I agree with your assessment, Cole, that I think Auburn still has the best NIL package in place for Deuce Knight, but Ole Miss values him. They're not going to give up here. They're going to continue to pursue. And what I think, if you're Auburn, you have to be wary of is, does Ole Miss try to up its NIL game or the package that they're going to provide him late to kind of mitigate Auburn's response time some? So that's just kind of a little bit of gamesmanship that goes on here in this part of recruiting, right? And so sometimes the biggest surprise you can be, the better. And I think that's, if you're Auburn, what you have to kind of survive somewhat.
And I would say some of the concern here, and I think if you ask Jeffrey, he'd probably hover around 35%, 40, maybe not that high. I'm probably at 25. I go 10 less than you. But I do think that Ole Miss is probably going to be in the NIL game before this is over with, if they're not already. I think that has a lot to do with why he's listening to him. No, I mean, look, it's the in-state school. He's interested in them. There's no doubt. Question number two, bow and arrow. Overall thoughts on Auburn taking portal players that have decided to redshirt and transfer? Bad apples for the program. It's interesting, man. I don't know if I don't know. I think actually what might be interesting about those guys, the ones that are in the portal already and it's still football season, it might give Auburn a little more time to vet them, actually.
Yeah.
And really see, like, why did you enter? Was there a good reason, a reason that makes sense, and not just because, I think personally you have to worry about these guys just a little bit. If they're willing to leave during the season, that worries me a little bit personally.
Sure. And I think in these kind of situations, it's hard to put a stereotype on it because each recruitment is somewhat different, right? Each player is somewhat different. Their reason for leaving is different. And so you have to evaluate it on a case-by-case basis. So while you would like to paint with a broad brush in these kind of situations, you can't. You don't know. Look, it could be something like the school didn't fulfill their NIL contract with them, right? Like they just decided to stop paying them, or they weren't able to pay them. It could be the young man's just not getting the playing time that he feels like he needs to develop and move to the NFL, and that your situation is a little bit more advantageous for him. So it's, it could be a combination of things where there could be distrust on either side. So you just have to do your best to vet it, like Cole talked about, get to the root cause of why the person transferred or why they redshirted in the first place. And if you're comfortable with that and you're comfortable with their skill set, you feel as though you can develop them in your system, then there's no harm in it. But I think with what Cole is hinting at is you're probably doing a little bit more due diligence, because that's a red flag, right? It's not an immovable flag, but it's one of those that you need to understand a little bit more before you bring that person into your program.
But you do have longer to vet them, and you do have a little bit longer to see, is this the right fit for our program? Even if he left early, all that. But and I'll say this: I actually think there's somebody that is in the portal right now that Auburn probably would take and might be interested in.
For sure.
Left their program, during the middle of the season. So I actually do think there's a name out there. I don't know if we'll get into that, Alan, but there is a guy out there that definitely keeping an eye on him.
100%.
Question 3, War Tiger 6. We need an anchor offensive tackle. We missed in the portal. Do you see the staff trying the portal or touching base with Babalola one more time? Would you say Auburn missed in the portal on offensive tackle? Would you call that a miss?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption.
I think so too.
Yeah, Percy Lewis he was valued by this staff. Was slated to start by the staff. And unfortunately, about midway through the year, you just realized that the situation was unworkable and that Percy had not developed the way you had anticipated or would have liked for him to, because of the way that you've now had to contort your offensive line and move some pieces around the chessboard somewhat. So, yes, but the good thing is you had a safety net in Dylan Wade, which is not a bad safety net to have. And so because of him, I think that does give you some versatility. I believe the preference is to find a tackle wholeheartedly. But with a player like him, if the better player is a guard and you can plug them right in, I don't think Auburn's going to hesitate to take the best offensive lineman they can take, right?
Yeah.
That, to me, is probably the situation they find themselves in, as opposed to just pigeonholing themselves to only looking at tackles. It's, okay, what's our board and who's the best overall player that we can take that fits the room and fits the skill set or the type of offense that we want to run next year.
Absolutely. And I do think that Auburn will key in on that position, offensive tackle, when they hit the portal soon. I think that's going to be an emphasis. We talked about that before the show, offensive tackle. I don't think Auburn is just keeping Andrew Babalola warm. I think they talk to him every day to this point. That's not something they're going to let go real easily. It doesn't mean they're going to flip him. It doesn't mean they'll get him on campus, whatever. But they ain't letting that one go. I can guarantee you, right? He's still a priority for the staff, even though he committed to Michigan.
Absolutely.
All right, question 4, AU86KB. What has led to a school in Maryland becoming a big Auburn pipeline? That's a fair question. It kind of came out of nowhere. St. Francis Academy in Baltimore. You got 3 commitments there. Bryce Diaz, Blake Woodby, and Wayne Henry in the 26 class. Might be getting another one soon. I could see it happening with Darion Smith in Tennessee. I don't know, actually. Where did that come from? Is it a Durkin connection, do we think?
I think it's Durkin and or some of the support staff that he brought in. You're talking about guys that have a lot of regional ties to that Atlantic coast area. Definitely DJ is kind of probably the person that drives it more than anyone, but you have a lot of talented off the field staff guys, specifically in those defensive analyst roles, that have connections to the East Coast there. And they've done really great work. I mean, I think if you're a coach that has strong ties there the way that DJ does, so long as your reputation is intact as being somebody that is honest and truthful with the players that you're recruiting, you're always going to have an opportunity to go in. And I think this cycle just happens to be more advantageous for Auburn than others. Maybe Maryland's having a little bit of a down year. Some of the other schools like Penn State has really kind of raided that area. As of late, they've kind of dominated the Maryland area. So good for Auburn for getting in there and getting 2 really quality players in this cycle already. And then, as Cole talked about, potentially even a third.
Yeah, he's going to officially visit. I think you could easily. I'd watch out for him when he officially visits for the Texas A&M game. That's all I'm saying. Darion Smith, who's currently committed to Tennessee. You know, DJ Durkin, man, we don't talk much about him as a recruiter, but I think he's been fantastic. Kind of quiet, but fantastic. I mean, Elijah Melendez, that was his main thing. He's like, if Durkin's there, I'm there.
Yep.
And you see his defense and you see how well they're playing. I mean, I was thinking the other day, Alan, it's weird to think this because Auburn's 3-6, but how important was that hire?
It was huge. Look at this defensive recruiting class. And then think about who some of the primary recruiters are, even on some of the offensive targets, right?
Yeah.
So it is a well put together staff. It's a nice combination of veteran leadership with some really good young coaches in VKW. So Vontrell King Williams, Josh Aldridge, two really nice up and comers paired with Wesley Crime Dog McGriff, Charles Kelly, and then obviously DJ Durkin. And those guys just do a fantastic job of holding people accountable on that side of the ball, bringing the juice, as Hugh said himself, but bringing that energy where the defense can just feed off of that coordinator. And it's been big, Cole. It really has. In so many different ways, it's been big.
And with that Maryland crew, I think you could see possibly Jare Edwards, who is 2026 safety or corner, whatever he is, DB. You could potentially see him visit Auburn when they come for the Texas A&M game. You could see Zion Ely, was that his name? The number one?
Yes.
You could see him come with those guys. They're trying to get him down for one Auburn game. Listen, the crazy thing is, it's not just that they're committed. They're on fire for Auburn. Yeah. Bryce Diaz, Blake Woodby, I mean, he's all over Twitter or whatever. They love Auburn. I mean, it's crazy. You love it, I guess, right? It's like, okay, it doesn't make sense, but we'll take it.
Yeah. Because when has Auburn ever been, like the DMV, been a hot spot for Auburn?
I'm saying. That's a nice little pipeline, though. That school continues to put out very good players over and over every cycle. So, question 5, Jimmy Foosball. Are we still communicating with quarterbacks other than Deuce Knight? Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I'm sure they're doing their due diligence, right?
Sure.
It would be disastrous to not have it. I mean, have to cut communication with other quarterbacks in this class, given your need at that position and the unpredictability that is quarterback recruiting, right? So I think you're always going to keep one hand on, like, hey, you're our guy. Yeah, you're all we're planning on taking, but we're going to continue to talk to this player over here because if you change your mind, we need to have options.
Right. Right. Let me ask you this. Do you think, let's say that Deuce Knight does flip to Ole Miss, okay?
Yep.
Again, as of right now, neither one of us think that's going to happen. I don't at the moment. We're watching it. It's worth watching Ole Miss. I'm not seeing it right now. We'll see. But let's say that Deuce Knight does flip to Ole Miss. Do you think Auburn puts a ton of emphasis in getting a quarterback in this class, or do you think they try to roll over some of that money maybe for the portal? What do you think their approach would be there?
The approach is going to be go to the portal and try to grab 2. I just don't see if Deuce Knight flips, it's going to be a situation where I think it's a signing day or like the week of signing day and he flips. You're talking about a very conscientious young man that has been very measured in some of the things that he said.
That's true.
So to up and do something just completely and utterly sporadic and or what's the word I'm looking for? Just completely.
Spur of the moment.
Yeah, very spur of the moment. I just don't think that's Deuce. He's much more cautious than that. So,
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, let me ask you, you 35%. Did the Caleb Cunningham flip to Ole Miss raise your percentage at all?
Slightly, maybe 5%, but I put most of that on how successful Ole Miss has been and that the fact that they're graduating their quarterback. And so he's looking at a room where I can come in and yes, there's Austin Simmons there and,
Yeah.
Another quarterback that's a high caliber guy, but I think I'm better than them. They don't have that much more playing experience than me. I can come in and I can beat these guys.
Sure.
So I don't know how much that helps or hurts Auburn in that capacity. But yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to be blind not to agree with what you were asking me, man.
True. Triple T for question 6 here. Trooper Taylor's towel. Auburn has a great track record with Ohio State flips. Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis, K and Lee. That being said, what's the word on Mbachu and Darion Smith? Well, neither one of those guys are committed to Ohio State. I'm not sure that ties in there, but I was expecting the Eam offered here. But that's interesting. Just the word on Mbachu and Darion Smith. We touched on Darion Smith a little bit. Mbachu, I still feel pretty good. I have a pick in for Auburn there. Texas is a threat. Definitely a threat. Texas is pushing for Mbachu, but I like Auburn. I like Auburn for that one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Auburn on both.
Really?
Yeah. I am optimistic on Darion Smith right now, given some of the things that I know it's tough. Look, he's a Rodney Garner commit. I'm sure there are people that are going to be screaming in the chat, like, what are you doing protecting against Rodney? Vontrell has been on such a roll. And when I hear that there's some confidence that he thinks he can flip a kid, I'm starting to give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with it right now.
I mean, has anyone been off limits for flipping for this Auburn staff?
None.
Georgia, maybe. I mean, you technically did flip DeMarcus Riddick, but boy, I bet they were like, DeMarcus Riddick looks pretty good.
Oh, they are. But yeah, flipping an in-state kid from the out-of-state school, that's a little bit different of a flip, right? Even though it's still a big deal. It's a massive deal. As far as the regional ties that kind of push kids to schools, that doesn't exist with somebody who's committed to Georgia.
Yeah, that's true. So you're talking about a D-line class of Malik Autry, Jordan Crawford, Nate Marshall, Antonio Coleman. Who am I missing? I'm missing somebody. That's 4. Who's the 5th one?
Jared Smith.
Jared Smith, Darion Smith, Joseph Mbachu. That's what you're looking at for potential D-line class. My goodness. I mean, obviously what you got out of the Marlon Davidson, Derek Brown, Nick Coe class, obviously that was impressive. Is this – I mean, I don't know if you call it better yet, but depth-wise, volume-wise, it's there, right?
Very much so. I mean, this is as deep and this is going to sound like I'm poking at other classes, but I can't remember a class that's been this layered with like high-end talent. Now, you don't have that like 5-star just yet to really kind of shoot your rankings and,
right
to the moon, but you have a ton of top 150 guys. I mean, a ton. And so it's just such a impressive haul, specifically given what the product you put on the field at this point.
True. I think we missed that last question, Zach. Question 7. Yeah. Question 7, Welders AU. What is the final ranking of Auburn's 2025 class in y'all's opinion? This was something else that I put in my gut feelings, and my gut feeling says that it lands just outside of the top 5. And it's really not even logical that I said that, because if you think about it, I mean, if they keep Deuce, if they get a Naeem offered like we think could happen right now, the numbers line up to being a top 5 class, but something just tells me, I don't know what it is, it just ends up falling right outside at the end of the day when everything's said and done. I'm 6,
I was getting ready to say 7th. That's where I think there'll be a tick up from last year, but they won't necessarily hold on to all the pieces that they need to stay inside the top 5.
It just feels like at some point this season the proof of concept on the field or is going to hurt you, right? Doesn't it feel that way? I feel that way. I feel like you can't hold on to that forever. And if it gets worse, I mean, they're not. Auburn's not expected to beat A&M. Auburn's not expected to beat Alabama. You're expected to beat Louisiana Monroe. 4 wins. Can you really hold on to that caliber of a class with 4 wins? It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough.
is. It hasn't. I mean, to my knowledge, I can't remember a coach that's gone had a losing record in season 2 and a regression from season 1 from a win total standpoint, and then still finish higher in recruiting than they did the year before, specifically landing inside the top 10.
Well, like we said, this day and age, man, it's like, what can you do for me? That seems to be the biggest thing. And Auburn's handling that part pretty well, regardless of the record on the field. So that's probably why the recruiting is going well. But question 8, Baked Ram. If Tavares Dice flipped to Florida, how would you grade the offensive line class without Dice?
Whew, that's tough because I'm really high on TJ Dice, man. So I think the grade would probably be incomplete because you just don't have enough tackles. You needed to walk away with at least 2 minimum offensive tackles in this class. You obviously have one, and he's really, really talented, but he's slightly raw. So I don't know.
Yeah. It would take a huge hit for me. Big fan of Brody Scholl, big fan of Ty Buster, like those guys, like I love Cale Ellis. I love all those guys, but you drop Dice. That hurts. That would hurt. And I will tell you, Florida is a threat. And they have been for a long time. Now that they're retaining Billy Napier, and I think he was a big reason why Florida was a threat. He's taken a personal interest in that recruitment. And, well, now he's going to stay, and they know he's going to stay, and that helps them a lot in this recruitment.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
So losing him, yeah, you take a full letter grade hit, maybe more for me. You're dropping into the C range at that point. All right, question number 9, Fontelli. I guess is how you say that. Is Deuce considered a true game changer the minute he walks on the field, or one who needs development? This is a good question for us, Alan.
To me, definitely one that needs development. Now, again, and I'm on record as saying this, I think Deuce, from a quarterback standpoint, has the most unique skill set of any player, any quarterback in this class. He's more athletic, has all the measurables that you would want in a quarterback, plus arm strength. He's got it all there, right? But there's still some refinement that needs to come with his performance in the passing game, and then probably just it's so different coming from the level of play that Deuce is seeing every Friday night, and then you're going to step into the in the SEC as a first-year starter, and it's just tough, man. It's really, really tough to put that kind of pressure on a young player.
Yeah. So, Alan, this is not a comparison by any means, but was watching Miami the other day. I haven't really gotten to sit down and watch some of these teams. Wanted to get a good look at Miami. Of course, they lost to Georgia Tech in that game. Cam Ward, I'm not making like the direct comparison, but the way that Cam Ward just kind of shoots from the hip, like it's a quick, like pow, coming out of his hand like that. Deuce has something real similar to that in his arm talent, is what I'm trying to get at. So, game-changing ability, yes, I would put a check in that box. Is he a guy that changes the game in year one, though? That's the question. I don't think he does. I think he needs some time, like you said, Alan. He needs some development. But the game-changing skills are there, the skill set, which we've been saying. We said that when we did the ranking and all that too. So definitely there for that. But is going to need some time. He's not. You don't want to end up with Deuce Knight as your starter next year. It's just not. I don't know if that's in the cards. I don't even know if he wants that. So that's, they definitely got to go to the portal. I wonder if he understands that. I would assume he does.
One would think, but you never really know, right?
It's true. Question 10, flatbed freestyle. That's a new one. I hadn't seen that one. Who was Auburn's best under-recruited gym that they got in the last 15 years? Is there one in this class you think will prove they're better than their ranking? Best 3-star under-recruited gym in the last 15 years. My mind goes directly to one person. And
I'm
that is,
sure. Yeah, go
let me
ahead.
hear yours. I want to see if it lines up. Let me hear yours.
My guess is he's out of Mobile, Alabama, if I had to guess.
That is correct. That is correct. That'd be Mr. Roger McCreary.
Yes.
That's where my mind went immediately. Daniel Thomas
Yeah,
comes to mind.
he was the other one to me that jumps out at you as far as a player that Auburn thought a lot more of than several other schools.
Tends to be DBs, does it not?
Right now it does. And usually, in these kind of spots, you get an offensive lineman because it's such a developmental position. You'll have, a linebacker or maybe a wide receiver that's just now getting it at this part in the system. But no, I found that very interesting, to be honest.
How about Jonathan Jones? I don't even remember what he was ranked, but is it surprising at all that he's been this long tenured player in the NFL and Pro Bowl level and all that?
Very much so, because I like to think that I understand what talent looks like, right? And I get that different players project differently in different systems. But what I saw, I just wouldn't have anticipated that.
No. Sometimes you never know, man. You just never know. Is there anybody in this class, Alan, that you think is going to be that guy one day?
I'm going to recruit the traits here, and the guy I like that I think has the best skill set to pop, I'm going to go with Bryce Deese.
I like it. I was thinking him. I'm thinking Kel Ellis because Kel Ellis is technically a 3-star. I mean, he's a center. They kind of get that 3-star most of the time, like Connor Lew did.
Yep.
But I think he's going to outplay that personally. I think he's pretty good. Unfortunately for you, your pick the last time we had a similar question was Dante Core, and no longer with the Tigers is Dante Core.
No, he is not. And before anybody asks, I think Auburn would have liked to have retained Dante Core. Now they're not going to cry about it. I believe they got some other options, and one that may happen sooner rather than later. I know one Cole Pinkston has a prediction in there for Shamar Arnaud.
That's correct.
But I think Dante Core is still a good player, guys. And so don't think that Auburn processed him or anything of that nature. That was not I think Auburn would have liked to have kept him in the class, all things being equal.
What do you think about the potential swapping of Core and Arnaud? How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm not going to shy away from this. I think I put it on the board. I need to see. It's hard for me because I don't know how fast Arnaud really is, right? He's got great length, good ball skills, good football IQ. But to me, to be able to play bump and run coverage in the SEC, and you'll see Durkin run a lot of man coverage, you got to be able to flip your hips and run. And I just don't know what his top end speed is. And can he, when he's going against tier 1 SEC type talent, is he able to kind of battle and, work his way into the rotation? That's going to be hard. Maybe his long-term position for me is that field safety spot. If he could continue to add weight, I think I like him there more than I like him at corner. But Wes McGriff is somebody who's had his eye on him for a while now, and Wes knows talent, definitely understands the cornerback position. So I'll be interested to see his thoughts, or just how the young man plays as we kind of get into spring training and some of the things that start to filter out about his play.
Yeah, McGriff loves him, and it's interesting you said safety because, talking to Charles Kelly when we went through summer camp at Auburn, just like one-on-one, and seeing Shamar Arnaud in camp right in front of him, he was very impressed. He was very impressed with Arnaud and his length and his ability to play man coverage. The speed is a question, like you said. We'll see, but I mean, he's a player. He's definitely a playmaker. So that's
sure.
the guy. If Charles Kelly likes the guy, I don't question that. I think he's probably decent.
Yeah, that's a good eval, right?
No doubt. All right, guys, that'll do it for us tonight. 10 questions, knock those out. Alan, do you have any how-abouties?
I think I got one. Give me just a second.
Yeah, I only have two. I think I have two tonight. Yeah. Well, three. I got three. I'll go ahead and throw
Okay,
mine out there while you're looking there, Alan.
I got you. Hold on. So from Skillborn 22. Now he's not my how about you. The SIAP call-in show. He has can't find it from Sunday and Monday. Maybe already discussed. Need my fix while battling windshield time. Here's where my how about you comes. C Rob 90. Gonna be waiting approximately 1 week there, OP. They, like the team, had a bye week and like to self scout. I thought that was well played.
Very nice. I love it, man. It's been a pretty good week of the corner.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a couple people that are friends with me, and they've called me, and they browse the corner. You know, they're not like into it like maybe a Rice is,
Sure.
but they browse it. They call me and go, "Man, I'm kind of proud of the corner. I'm kind of proud. They seem to be handling this pretty well. Auburn's not good in football, whatever.
Yeah.
So, kudos to the corner. I have three. JMK 205.
Okay.
The most backdoor how about you ever. Like I did it right before I was going to get on here because he owned me. Somebody posted about Donovan Starr right before we got on this to record.
Mm-hmm.
They said, hey, Donovan Starr not going to visit Georgia, according to the other site. He jumped in. He goes, also this site. This site also thinks the same, just so you know. But thanks. I thought that was pretty good. So JMK 205. Dose Wildcats.
Okay.
Dose Wildcats. He said, football is a lot more fun to follow when we don't have games.
No doubt. In this season anyway, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just been, there's just been so many different, well, there's been a high and then like multiple lows. So,
Multiple.
multiple. So hopefully Auburn fans will get an opportunity at a high this weekend.
That would be a high. You find a way to win one of those last two. Hey, you got a little energy maybe going into the off season.
I like it.
So those two, and then Iron Man 70. Iron Man 70. Words of encouragement. I always give the words of encouragement. That's you're gonna get a how about you from me if you do that. So JMK 205, Dose Wildcats 202, Iron Man 70, and yours, C Rob 90.
Yes.
How about you to those four this week? Good work. Guys, we will be back on the call-in show Sunday. We'll probably have a live football show with Justin Hokanson and Alan and myself. And we'll get back on routine. The second bye week was real strange. I don't care for it personally. Gets me out of rhythm. Probably gets y'all out of rhythm a little bit. But hey, basketball, that's fun right now. I haven't checked in the game we got going on, but it's probably we'll see. So anyway, join us for that stuff, man. For Alan, for Zach in the back, who stayed in the back, for myself, we will catch you next time. See you.